where a person can do takhayyul, they can fantasize about haram, something wrong, something evil, whatever it might be, and we'll talk about a few of those things. And as a result, then a person ends up committing sin unintentionally. But they still get fault for it. They committed sin unintentionally. Why? Because they've already committed it in their mind. They've already gone through it in their head. So then, acting it out in real life is actually a lot easier. And actually our scholars, they say that there are certain things that are worse than the sin itself. Certain things that are worse than the sin. You know what one of those things is? Is when a person hears that another person has committed the sin, and then they're like, oh man, I missed out. I wish that I also did that thing. You guys didn't tell me you guys went. I wish I could have gone with you. Or a person sees, on social media, they see people going, to a club. This looks like a lot of fun. This looks like a lot of fun, I wish I was there. The person has not gone, Allah protected them from that sin. But that feeling and that statement of theirs is even worse than that sin itself. Why? Because they're doing what? They're doing tahqeer of the sin. They don't think that it's a big deal. They think, oh my God, I have regret over a sin. Imagine. A believer should have regret over missing out on a good deed or committing a sin. But these are people, they have regret that I wish I'd done a sin and I didn't even do it. It's even worse. There's other things as well. Things that are also potentially worse is when a person basically sits there and then instead of actually acting out the sin, they sit there and they fantasize over and over and over, committing whatever sin it might be. Whatever it might be. And that in itself is also sinful. And so, the Ustad, he brings like a few examples. He's like, it could be a number of different things, right? It could be robbing a bank. A person might think, people actually fantasize about robbing a bank. I don't know, maybe some people do. That's kind of crazy, right? But maybe people do. Maybe people do think about this. Winning at roulette. I'm sure that there are Muslims, plenty of them, who fantasize and think about what? Winning the lottery. And that's it. All of that. It's just one little thing. So one little bet, one harmless bet, changed my life. I will give a lot of it back in charity. It's okay. I will build masjids and say, Allah will forgive. It's okay. So a person sitting there, they're fantasizing. So a takhayyul is when a heart dwells on forbidden or prohibited matters and those inspirations that do not concern it. Things that are not good, that person begins to continue to think about this over and over again. Right? What are some signs and symptoms? You had a question? Hakim? Okay, I thought I heard something. What are some signs and symptoms that a person is constantly or has this issue, that they engage in this fantasizing? Is that a person reflects on things that are prohibited, and this can be anything that is like prohibited for them to do in actuality is prohibited for a person to fantasize about. Okay? Anything that is prohibited to do in actuality, physically, really, in the real world, it is also prohibited to fantasize about that in the mind. So we're talking about what? Actually sitting there and imagining yourself doing it and thinking and planning and hoping and wishing and dreaming that you could do it. Or even, it's another thing, man, like young people. I remember growing up, I used to see this all the time online. Young people ask really silly questions because they don't know. They would say that if you could have any one thing that was haram be halal, what would it be? So young people would just put this online to ask other young people, right? I guess old people might answer it too, they have also like desire too, they're also human beings. But they would ask that, Abdur-Rahim's got his Tonka trucks out, man. He's here to play today. But a person, young people, they would do this, right? They would say, so many things that are haram. If there's one thing that you can have that was haram, if Allah didn't make it haram, what would it be? And then it's just Muslims in the comments, man. People, and I'm talking years ago. I haven't seen this in a long time, alhamdulillah, but years ago, I'm sure people are still doing it. People will say things like, oh, I wish tattoos were halal, man. Which means what? That this brother, this sister is probably thinking and imagining and looking. They probably look up tattoo designs. They probably see people with tattoos and they're like, oh my God, I wish I had that tattoo. Where would I have a tattoo if I can get one? What's the big deal? It's only a small little thing. When they get their freedom, maybe they will get a tiny little one. Who knows? Maybe they'll get temporary ones until eventually they want a permanent one. Right? You'll see all kinds of stuff. People are like, oh, I wish, alcohol, something like that. Wasn't actually haram. Oh, I wish this wasn't haram. Which means that they're doing exactly this thing which we have prohibited. They're sitting there and they're imagining and dreaming and thinking and hoping and wishing. But that also underlies something, there's also an underlying greater issue than this, which is what? That they feel that Islam is restrictive. Islam is prohibitive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this haram, I wish He didn't make it haram. Allah made tattoos haram, I wish He did not make them haram for me. And that's what they're thinking. So that if a person is thinking that about their religion, about their sharia, about their Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then how will that person be able to establish any meaningful connection with Him? How will they be able to gladly follow the rules of Islam? Be like, Allah's wisdom is best, Allah knows best. No, it's okay, it's easy, no problem. Instead of like, oh man, I wish I could do that, I wish I could. And they probably think how they would look with that tattoo. Right? So that's what he's talking about here. That anything that is prohibited outside externally is also prohibited in the mind as well.